Hi everyone, this video is going to go over the basic use of the RFN pack formulation spreadsheet. If you are a current user of the standard spreadsheet and you just want to figure out what's different, you can skip to the bottom of the setup page where I have a little note on the differences on the use, or you can skip to the end of this video where I'll talk a little bit more about that. This video is also not going to cover the setup and authorization of your spreadsheet or the installation and use of the add-ons. There are separate videos for that. So basically, I'm going to go through all the tabs that are included in your spreadsheet here and how to use them. So the first one is called Create a Pet Profile. That's where you're creating the profiles for each pet that you want to formulate towards. So I've created this for my cat Bo. And the ones with the red asterisks next to them are the ones that are mandatory. Everything else is optional. So in order to save it, I'm going to highlight this purple column, copy it, then go to Saved Profiles, paste Values Only. So now I have two pet profiles in there, Sam and Bo. So Sam and Bo right here. So next, you're going to go to your base recipe builder. This is where you're building the base recipe that each pet is going to get some of for their day. This should have the bulk of your ingredients here that are going to make up the bulk of your calories for each pet. So here I've added in a little bit of ground beef, beef kidney, and beef liver, really general. You can add as many or as few ingredients as you like here. I have formulated this looking at Sam's requirements just for reference, but you can delete that and still formulate just to look at, for example, the total amount of food that you're getting or the total calories here, however you want to formulate that. So once you're done adding in your base recipe, you can go to the toppers builder, and this is where you're personalizing the diet for each pet. So up here, I've put in each animal, so Sam and Bo, and I can see their individual requirements in each of their columns. And then over here in the toppers area, I've selected 500 grams of the base recipe for Sam and 150 grams of the base recipe for Bo. And then I've added toppers for each of them. So for example, for quinoa, Sam's getting 200 grams of that and then Bo's getting none. You can add as many or as few toppers as you'd like all the way down this chart here and look at their requirements here to see what you need to add. The thing that you can't do here is subtract. If you want to subtract, then you got to go back to your base recipe builder and remove ingredients from there. Then when you're all done, let's say your recipe is perfect for each pet, then you go to the pack report, and this is where you can get your report, a nutrient analysis, and feeding charts. So up here, batch recipe report, you can select how many days you want the batch recipe to be. So if I want to make a week's worth of meals, I'm going to put 7 here. Or if you just want to see per day, you can switch that to 1, and the quantity should change down there. And you can set that to whatever units you want. Then if you could scroll down, you'll see the toppers chart. So you can set that for 1 day, for 7 days, for 30, however many you'd like. And then you can see per day how much each pet should be getting. So every day Sam should get 500 grams of the base food and then 50 grams of chicken egg, so on and so forth. You can write in some notes here if you'd like about the recipe and how much to feed. Down here, there's a batch distribution chart. So when you make your base recipe, if you're worried about any differences in weight due to the water content, you can weigh your final batch recipe and then divide and then give, let's say, 23.1% to Bo and then 76.9% to Sam. So you can account for the water differences there. And then scrolling down, this is just the nutrition analysis for the base recipe and Sam's toppers for his full days of recipe right here. So that's the full nutritional analysis there. And there's the one for Bo, so on and so forth. So the next tab here is called the recipe database. So this is where your recipe gets saved. There are instructions in your base recipe builder and toppers recipe builder about how to manually save recipes into this database. But basically, if you want to save your recipe here so that you can edit it later, this database makes it really easy to do that. Next one is your food database. So this is where you can edit the nutritional analysis for any of the food ingredients, or you can add and remove them. So in order to add custom foods, you can go and find the next empty column, or you can add a column. So for example, I can just add one right here. You would name it, and then you would categorize it. So in the instructions, there is a little bit of a guide on how to categorize it, but basically anything that is not measured in grams should be listed as a supplement, and then you can list what the serving size is here. So for example, you can see for these vitamin E capsules that the serving size is a soft gel, not a gram. For any items that are that the serving size is grams, you'll see the amount of grams. So all of these items are standard items pulled from the USDA food database, meaning that the nutritional analysis is per 100 grams. So that's really typical. When you're adding custom foods in here, if you have the nutritional analysis provided, so for example, if you're adding a supplement, then you can enter it based on what it says on that supplement label, or if you're entering a commercial food. There is a guide in the RFN Facebook group in the files about how to convert kibble or pre-made raw to a format that you can enter into the spreadsheet. And if you're looking at entering a food that is not available, there is a separate video about how to create estimations and how to add that to your spreadsheet, and that's a separate video. All right, so now for the differences between the standard and the pack. So if you're a long-time user of the standard spreadsheet, there are a couple of things that you do have to know about using the pack spreadsheet that's a little bit different. So the first biggest difference is that the report is automatically connected to the toppers and the base recipe builder. So if we go to the pack report here, you can see the 3 ingredients here. But if I go back and add one, let's say I'm adding some fish. We'll wait for that to load. All right, then if you go back to the pack report, it should pop up automatically. There we go. So anything that you change on the recipe builder and on the toppers recipe builder will automatically reflect on the pack report. So that leads to the second difference. The second difference is that because they're automatically connected, you cannot duplicate the base recipe builder or the toppers recipe builder. If you do, they will function by themselves, but they won't be connected to the pack report. So what I would recommend is saving your recipes to the recipe database if you're done with them. Follow the instructions on your recipe builder to save it to the database. Or what you can do is make sure that you're labeling the original really correctly. So if this is the one that is the original, then you can label it, original base builder, and that's the one that you know is going to be connected to the pack report. That way, if you make any duplicates, you know that you can play around with the duplicates, but the duplicates will not be connected to the pack report, and those differences or any formulations that you do on the duplicate recipe builders won't show up on the pack report or won't be connected to the toppers recipe builder. So those are the two main differences between the two. Otherwise, you can still do individual formulations on the pack recipe or the pack formulation spreadsheet, and you can still pretty much do everything that you do on the standard here, other than make duplicates that are connected to the report. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My name is Jenny Ryoo. I created the RFN spreadsheets. You can find me on the RFN group or by email at jenny@sitstaybeyond.com.